So, let's talk about something that so many companies get wrong. How do you take a brilliant, game-changing strategy and actually make it happen? That's where organizational project management, or OPM, comes in. It's the system that turns big ideas into real-world results. Let's dive in.
Here's what we're going to cover. First, we'll look at a huge problem called the strategy execution gap. Then, we'll introduce OPM as the perfect solution, break down exactly how it works, talk about the real-world payoff, why you should even care, and finally, we'll map out the journey to getting really, really good at it.
All right, first up, let's tackle a challenge that, honestly, it frustrates just about every organization out there, from tiny startups to massive corporations. It's this gap between having a great plan and actually getting great results. I mean, have you ever seen this happen? The leadership team spends months, maybe even a year, crafting this perfect, beautiful strategy, only for it to completely fall flat when it comes to execution. It just fizzles out. You have to wonder, why does this happen over and over again?
Well, this is what experts call the strategy execution gap. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's that huge chasm between what the company says it wants to achieve and what people are actually working on day to day. All those great ideas just get lost in translation somewhere between the boardroom and the front lines.
And this isn't some abstract concept. You can feel it. The symptoms are super obvious. You see projects that have, no real connection to the big picture goals. You see money and people getting thrown at whatever fire is burning brightest that day, instead of on strategic work. Departments aren't talking to each other, and you're just wasting time and money on stuff that doesn't really matter. It's frustrating for everyone. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? How do we build a bridge across that massive gap? Well, this is where organizational project management, or OPM, steps onto the stage. The best way to think about OPM is to picture the conductor of an orchestra. Now, the conductor doesn't actually play an instrument, right? But their job is absolutely critical. They make sure every single musician, every project in your company, is playing from the same sheet music, which is your strategy, and that it all comes together in perfect harmony. So let's break down that orchestra. At the most basic level, you have the individual musician. That's your project. It's a one-off effort. It has a clear goal, a defined start date, and a definite end date. Then you've got a program. Think of this as an entire section of the orchestra, like the string section. It's a bunch of related projects that are managed together. Why? Because coordinating them creates a way bigger impact than if you just manage them all separately. They create a unified sound. And finally, you have the portfolio. The portfolio is the whole shebang, the entire orchestra. It's the complete collection of all your projects and programs, all carefully selected and managed as one big group to perform that one single strategic symphony. So, let's just quickly compare these. A project is successful if it's on time and on budget. Simple. A program is successful if it delivers the collection of benefits it promised. But a portfolio is successful if it actually improves the company's strategic performance. And this is the most important part. Projects are about doing the work right. Portfolios are about doing the right work in the first place. Huge difference.
Okay, so we get it, OPM is the conductor. But how does the conductor actually lead the performance? What does that look like in practice? Well, the whole framework really stands on 4 key pillars.
Pillar number 1 is methodology. This is the sheet music for the orchestra. It's your company's official how-to guide, the set of rules and best practices that ensures every single team is working from the same playbook. It creates consistency. Second, we have knowledge management. You can think of this as the orchestra's collective memory. It's about creating a system to capture all the lessons you learn from every project, the good, the bad, and the ugly, so the whole organization gets smarter over time and stops making the same mistakes. Pillar 3 is talent management. Look, an orchestra is nothing without talented musicians, right? This is all about making sure you have the right people in the right seats, that you're hiring, training, and keeping the folks with the skills needed to pull off your most important strategic work. And the 4th and final pillar is governance. This is what gives the conductor their authority. It's the structure for making decisions, for providing oversight, and for making sure that every single project stays tightly connected to those big picture strategic goals. So you see the 4 pillars, and I know what you might be thinking. That sounds like a lot of work, and it is. So that brings us to the most important question. Why bother? What's the actual tangible payoff for doing all this? Well, the benefits are huge, and they directly solve the problems we talked about earlier. You get a much tighter alignment between projects and strategy, which means less wasted time and money. You naturally reduce risks and cut costs.
Your project success rates go way up, which makes customers and stakeholders a whole lot happier. Your organization becomes more agile, and maybe most importantly, you start delivering business value in a way that's predictable and reliable.
And listen, this isn't just some nice-to-have luxury for when times are good. The source material for this explainer makes a really powerful point. When the economy gets rocky, OPM becomes a straight-up survival tool. That kind of discipline is absolutely vital for staying afloat during a crisis.
So how does a company actually get there? It's really important to understand that implementing OPM isn't like flipping a switch. It's a journey, a path of continuous improvement.
Organizations usually progress through about 5 levels of maturity on this path. And as I list these, think about where your own organization might fall. Level 1 is basically ad hoc and chaotic, the Wild West. Then you move up to having repeatable processes. Then you get a defined standard for the whole organization. The highest levels are when you're managing with data and you're in a state of constantly optimizing everything.
But let's be real for a second. This is not a quick fix. The research is pretty clear that moving up just one of those levels is a massive undertaking. We're typically talking about a 1 to 2 year effort for each step up that ladder. It takes serious commitment.
So at the end of the day, OPM is the disciplined framework that finally closes that painful gap between your ambition and your actions. It's how you methodically, systematically turn your strategy into reality. And that really leaves us with one final, crucial question to ask yourself. In your organization, is the strategy truly driving every single action, every single day?